Nick, you're starting to see that pullback in the indices. Are you starting to buy? And while that is a valid question, somebody pointed out specifically, let me see. I want to see if I can find the comment. There it is. 5% drawdown came through on the Dow Jones. Would this be a good time to start building positions? So that's a great question. I'll give you a two-part answer here. In terms of momentum trades, like how I what I talk about frequently on this channel, like looking for pullbacks, buying uptrends, things like that. I'm waiting for the Edge Finders confirmation, as you pointed out. Until we get a green light on stocks, I am going to stay sidelined. We do have potentially some interest on the NASDAQ. I'll keep an eye on that one. Maybe we'll find a trade here today. But currently, I am still long silver. I need to check on that because I'm also long oil. So we're going to be taking a look at commodities today. Anyways, gold's going to the moon, says Joey. Let's take a look at it, man. I gotta see, because hopefully it is, because then my silver trade might be doing a little better. I actually added slightly to my size. For those of you guys who are keeping up with me, slight updates. Number one, I made this green a little darker so that we can see my orders here on TradingView, a little easier to see. But I did add to my silver just slightly. I added right around the same entry point. Also, I'm not logged into my broker. I'll do that in a second. But currently, we continue to see just basically silver is bouncing back slightly on the day. Gold is up on the day. This is solid for metals. Oil, I'm still long. Stops below. I'll show you. Here's the difference. There's the new. Oh gosh, why did that do that? I don't want it to be so big. Okay, in the second. We'll just do this. This is all I did, so I'm just going to change it. Okay. Yeah, so I'm long oil, I'm long silver. I'm watching other indices. The Nasdaq's come down pretty hard here, but I am a little hesitant to go chasing longs right now. Again, I think that you might have a little bit more room to pull back for some time. That being said, big drop yesterday, big drop the day before. So I am kind of sidelined on this one from a technical perspective. From a fundamental perspective, Edgefinder is still, I still like the story for stocks. I am bullish stocks. There's no question there. I just think technically I'd like to see a little bit of a setup for them. So NASDAQ of the three is the one that I like right now. We're getting a +5 score on the Edgefinder. Trend is kind of going bearish right now, so that's going to keep me just slightly sidelined. So yeah. ECB says the cut rate soon, barring any major surprises. Notes that the bank is extremely attentive to OI. I assume you mean AI. Yeah. What kind of software was that? The one you used to check silver? This software that I'm using is called the Edgefinder. This is A1 Trading's primary software tool. We use this software to scan tons of different market data, and it generally gives us bullish or bearish readings on different assets, currency pairs, commodities, etc. We continue to see the US dollar strength looking really attractive. I did a video on that this morning. That will be out sometime this afternoon. So let's take a look at the dollar really quick. Where's the dollar at today? Dollar just looks really strong overall. The story here for the dollar index just looks really clear right now. What I mean by that is I'll just show you guys here on the setups page. Let's go to our categories and let's go major currency pairs. And so major currency pairs across the board are favoring the USD. What that's telling you is that when we look at economic data that's been coming out for these different places, generally things are favoring the US dollar. So if we take a look at GDP numbers, you can see we're getting a lot of red here. What that's telling you is that relative to the dollar, these currencies, the Kiwi, the pound, the euro, the Aussie, are looking less attractive relative to that US dollar. That's why these currency pairs are getting bearish readings relative to the US dollar, right? We can go down the line. Manufacturing PMI numbers, retail sales numbers coming out strong for the US yesterday. That was a big hit for the market. Inflation, right? Inflation still very stubborn in the US, pointing towards rates might not come down as quickly as people thought. So the story for dollar bullishness, in my opinion, is very strong and justifies this movement. A lot of traders would say this market is overdone. It's got to come down. We've got to sell this thing. I would say that while I think that maybe there's room for a pullback. I would not be betting on one. For me, a pullback is an opportunity to join this move and look for a leg higher. That being said, it could just leg higher without a pullback, right? So the point is, when I look at fundamentals, I get a directional bias of to the upside, according to the Edgefinder's algorithm, which is what I stand by with in terms of like how I trade, right? The Edgefinder, the way it scores everything is really something that we've designed with the intention of our understanding of fundamentals, right?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Edgefinder. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
So when I look at the dollar index, the story is up. I'm looking for opportunities. So if you're watching dollar crosses, I don't care if you're watching euro dollar, pound dollar, Kiwi dollar, right now, we have a unique scenario where the Edgefinder is uniformly bullish against everything. Uniformly bullish on the dollar against everything else. It's rare that you get that. Usually you do not get that. So for me, when I'm talking currencies, I'm looking at things like the euro dollar for possible pullback sells, right? So if we get a pullback there, if we get the pound dollar pullback sells, really like that story. So why on God's green earth, if the dollar's so strong, is gold going up? Okay. And speaking of green earth, you could not find a more green chart right now. Maybe the VIX. The VIX might be the only one. It's got a little red in it today. My point is that the gold market is so strong right now. And I've been making this point on my videos that so many people are like trying to short gold. They're trying to bet against gold. But why, if the dollar is strong, is gold going up? Here's the basic idea, guys. The dollar going up is not the value, the purchasing power of the currency going up. Ask anybody, any of my US friends, and anyone for that matter, does anybody feel like their currency is getting stronger at the grocery store? There's a trick question because the answer is no for everybody, right? Everybody has gone to the grocery store and been like, okay, let me get my bread and my eggs and my bananas and my whatever, and been like, why the heck is it quadrupled the price? Currency, the value of currency everywhere is declining rapidly. We're seeing global inflation still going on. That being said, the US is experiencing relatively, it's enjoying its status as the global reserve currency. It is slightly outperforming the others. Okay, what we're seeing, we heard earlier from the ECB, we've heard these chants for rate cuts are coming for the ECB. It's because the recession looks more likely there than it does in the US right now. So the dollar looks relatively strong. It doesn't mean that the dollar's purchasing power is rapidly going up. And if that was the case, gold would likely be going down. Gold is up for a few reasons. It's up because central banks are expected to cut around the world because the economies might start to slow down. People are a little concerned about that. They're concerned about perhaps monetary easing that could come back into the picture, printing of currency essentially. And they're also concerned of what's going on with the Middle East, right? Who isn't? That's a scary story, right? Escalation in conflict globally is a scary thing. We see oil, for example, does not want to quit. It just does not want to roll over, it seems like. It keeps coming down to this area. If you're watching oil with me, 84.50 just seems to have so much strength for WTI. So I'm looking at oil and I have longs here. And I stay long oil unless we break 84.50. Conditions just favor bullishness right now for me in my system. Okay, so if I add into, let's go like this really quick, guys. We'll add in commodities for a second. So here's oil. Oil's getting a +7. Why is oil getting a bullish read? Well, lately, it's been moving kind of with the dollar. If there's strong economic demand for oil out of the US, the oil market likely will move up. So we can see that in the economic data section, right? Oh, I said data. I don't say data. I say data. What do you guys say? Data or data? Like, I say data. I don't know if there's a right way or not, but it depends where you are in the world. Maybe I say data. I know a lot of people probably like It's data. It's data. Anyways, oil's getting a bullish reading overall. And what we can see here is the reasoning for that is that demand side still looks pretty good. And this is not even considering geopolitics, right? Garrett says data, dad, That's how Garrett says it, said dad, I like it. Da. This is how I'm going to start saying it. So once we take a look at the da here, we can see that, again, economic demand. So think about it, right? If you're thinking about the demand side for oil, if the economies around the world look strong, the demand for oil will also look strong, right? That's the demand side. The supply side of oil is another part of the equation, because if you get supply issues, like geopolitics right now, right? If things escalate or continue to remain uncertain, if there is any escalation, if Israel comes back to here's another pronunciation I have to say right, Iran. I said Iran, people said it's Iran. So Iran, hopefully I said it right. If tensions continue to be a thing there, which is incredibly sad, and I hope that they are not, like, regardless of my oil trade, I would like to see, peace in the world, just like anybody else. But if things continue to stay escalated, I think oil trades at a premium for that reason. There's people who, or the market participants are saying, well, oil in some ways is kind of a hedge to that situation. You stay long oil. Not to mention you've got stock markets kind of really struggling here recently. I say really struggling. Let me just say, if you're new to indices, hello, welcome. This is normal. Stocks don't go up forever. And so we're seeing a pullback finally. I mean, I've been holding my breath. I don't know if I told you guys that. Well, I talked endlessly about how I caught the early, rip here, and I end up closing right at the end of 2023 just to watch the stock market leave me behind. So I am welcoming a pullback. I am long or bullish stocks. I've sold puts on several different things here. And if we do get, some bounce back here, I mentioned earlier, I like the NASDAQ. I like the Mag 7. Assuming it's the big players in the market. And I generally like those big players. They make a lot of money. They have a lot of growth. And if we enter into a period where inflation stays higher for longer, I'd rather be parked in the companies that I know are going to still have growth, not betting on the companies that need cuts in order to grow, right? Does that make sense? I could be wrong about that, because there's challenge to that. If I had a very, competent opponent on the stream, somebody might push back on me and say, Nick, you can't say that you want to be long tech in higher interest rates because tech is sensitive to it. Cyclicals. Yes, that is true. But I still think they do cut rates eventually. I could be wrong about that. And in that case, I'll pay the price for owning tech. But I'd rather be in tech because I still think they will cut rates. It's just a matter of when, not if. Now, I could be wrong in that case. And if I'm wrong and they start hiking rates, I will be on the worst side of the spectrum. If you are long the NASDAQ and then they start hiking rates, my opinion, you probably experience another 20-30% drawdown like we saw in 2022. Does that make sense? Type yes in the chat if that makes sense. My thesis on the NASDAQ, why I like the NASDAQ bullish, if we can get a setup here, and I don't see a setup yet. Technically, I don't like it. I'd like to see like a bounce or something. Like if we end the candle, nicely today, maybe. I'd rather be in the NASDAQ because I still think they're going to cut rates at some point. It's just when. And that when spooks certain areas of the market. It spooks unevenly areas of the market. Like the Russell. Russell does not take it well, right? The Russell's freaking out because higher interest rates for longer means that a lot of those companies which are less profitable are going to be in pain. So again, current positions, I've entered into a drawdown. My win streak may have come to a close, sadly. I've still got oil. I've still got silver. Silver's like flat for me. Let me pull up silver while we're at it. So SLV, I'm not logged in on my broker here. That's okay. You can see, I pulled it up. SLV, I've got silver positions on right now. I entered it yesterday. I added slightly here today. And theory for this is that, again, silver is an industrial metal. The retail sales numbers that we saw, everything overall seems to point towards the U.S. economy still chugging along. If that's the case, demand for silver, copper, platinum, oil, raw materials, right? Coffee, even, commodities, if you're a futures trader, look pretty attractive overall. So I have silver and oil longs currently. In terms of my friends who trade gold, why did I pick silver over gold? The main reason is because, again, silver is an industrial metal, whereas gold is more of a store of wealth metal, right? They're both precious metals, but gold is more of a, like, you buy it and you hold it as a way to safe hold your money. Whereas silver, it's not a very good safe haven compared to gold, right? Gold is just reigns supreme, but it's more of a industrial commodity. A ton of silver that gets produced goes right into production of solar panels, airplanes, just everything. So I'm long silver, I'm long oil. Dollar index also continue to be strong due to its relative outperformance when looking at the economic data. So for me, pullbacks on the dollar look mostly attractive for more upside. We'll continue to watch that. NASDAQ, I've mentioned, is kind of on the watch list, but I'd like to see a technical setup that looks a little cleaner than this. Right now, we had an uptrend, it went sideways, now it's kind of trying to break out lower, so I can't really justify buying it at this point. But I'll wait to see how price action forms. We've got some time here before we get into the big event with Jerome Powell speaking, and we have Governor Bailey, and we have Barkin speaking, and Macklem. All of these guys, I believe, are at a convention, fireside chat, I believe. Due to participate in a fireside chat about economic trends in North America at the Washington Forum. So these guys are going back to back, I believe. So yeah, we got Governor Macklem. So should be interesting to see what comes out of that. Anything that gets said that is showing like a trend towards dovishness could be interesting, or if Fed looks a little bit more hawkish, could be really interesting. Nick, where did you learn about fundamentals? Just a ton of reading, watching, listening, studying stuff. There's no like short tutorial on how to do edge on fundamentals. The purpose of the Edge Finder, though, is to try and simplify all of that stuff. So if you're like wondering, how does this data form? We color coded fundamentals. That's kind of the approach. So like jobs data coming out strong, we interpret as strong for the stock market. Now you could make the point, well, strong jobs, that means they're not going to cut rates. That's bearish for the stock market. But we generally favor more the idea that a strong economy is not going to crash the stock market, most likely, right? It's kind of a weird scenario to think the stock market's going to crash because it's so strong, right? The economy is so strong, right? That's kind of a weird theory. So anyways, yeah. Edge Finder also summarizes COT like a goat. Like a goat. It is quite useful for if you're somebody who's interested in COT data. You can also look at retail positioning, which we should check on just to see. Got gold giving us a contrarian sell signal. That's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that. Dollar yen, the DAX. Retail traders very short on these. That being said, so gold is still very neutral overall. You can see getting a neutral reading here. So nothing for gold right now. Bearish side, we're seeing euro dollar, the FTSE, Australian dollar, the pound, Kiwi dollar.
Did you know we do a live trading show Monday through Friday with guests from all over the world? To get notified when we go live, click the bell button next to the subscribe button or check in at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have helpful, free content in the description below and on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you tomorrow.